All right, let's deal with one last concept here of how genetics can play a role in the evolution of a species. So we have two diagrams here. One is of a chimpanzee, one is of a human. We see the skull capacities, much different between the two. What I want you to focus on now is the larynx. The larynx is the voice box. Okay? So you have the windpipe and you have the esophagus. So this closes down. This is your windpipe. And this little piece right here closes down when you eat food, so it can go down your esophagus and you do not choke. Okay? It's up very high here. The larynx is up very high here in chimpanzees and other mammals. Think of how your dog eats. Your dog just inhales food sometimes, right? And rarely chokes. So this prevents choking, okay? But it limits the amount of sounds this creature can make. Now, what happened many years ago is probably some random mutation dropped the larynx in human ancestor, which is kind of a bizarre genetic phenomenon because this would have increased our chance of choking to death. The food would have came down and it had to come all this way before this closed, and if it came down too fast, it wouldn't close in time, and you could choke and increased our risk from dying from choking on food. But what it did was expand our ability to make sounds. Okay? So you take this notion of our ability to make sounds plus the brain capacity. We are not simply the might is right. We have to learn, the might is right, I should say, using our teeth. We have to learn to work in a group. Well, with a larger skull capacity and a greater brain and a greater ability to communicate, language had to develop, a complex language. So you have chimpanzees, or I should say, primitive hominids who could ar, 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 ar. That's about it. They had sounds like a dog, the range of a dog. But humans, when this happened, ar, ar, oh, 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 ooh, ah, ooh, yeah, ah. All of a sudden now, a wider range of sounds, and you would have to just think that the leader of any group would have had a combination of this drop in the larynx and expanded brain capacity to think as a leader and to launch attacks on woolly mammoths and whatnot based on planning and communicating with his other members of the tribe. Now let me add one more thing to this mix: harnessing fire. Once we harnessed fire, things changed as well. Because prior to harnessing fire, our ancestors ate raw meat. They would kill an animal and eat it raw like any lion out in the Serengeti. But once fire was invented, or harnessed, I should say, we could cook meat. That's pre-digesting meat. Now, if you eat a big bowl of raw meat, your stomach's going to fill up and it's going to start digesting. It's going to generate heat. And you're going to fall asleep. But once you start eating pre-digested food by cooking it, there had to be a little awkwardness at some point around the campfire because they were not falling off to sleep. They were sitting there, standing there, awake. And with this advanced brain capacity and this advanced ability to communicate, the first campsite chat probably happened. And who knows, maybe the first joke, ooh, ooh, ah, ha, 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 right? And in that way, those combination of events, we went from becoming a primitive hominid to this advanced hominid today. And in this way, the leader, the one who had the best language, the one who told the best jokes around the campfire, the one who organized the troops to take down the woolly mammoth, that became the characteristic that made him the fittest for his environment. And according to the laws of natural selection, he would be the one who gets the girl. They would mate, they would have offspring, and those beautiful traits of advanced communication and creative thought in order to hunt advanced. And they've advanced to this day. So that's the notion of how brain evolution and natural selection work together.